What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast.
I'm John.
Fuck capitalism!
I'm Lindsay, trying to write horror novels because I was a weird kid.
The whole world is a urinal.
What the first time, bitch?
Hello, and welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm M.
And we have a special guest today. He's the host of... Matt, tell us what shows you're the host of.
Legendary host of the Top 5 of Death podcast, which you can find on the Make Fun Network. It still exists technically. Also currently just taking a little bit of a break from podcasting in general to be an adult, I suppose, but getting back into things pretty quickly here.
That sounds lame.
Who wants to be an adult?
Yeah, it's... I don't know. I like to think I'm pretty good at the adult game. So like so far, like I'm like riding the high up because it's like playing a game you're already good at. So you just want to keep playing it, and nothing's really like I haven't hit like a boss level where I've been like, screw this game. So far I'm gonna just I'm gonna put the good out there, and hopefully it continues on.
Definitely doing better than me.
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it, right? I mean, before we get started, if you want to get a hold of us, facebook.com/Just Another Horror Podcast. We are on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe.
Or we gonna sue your balls to the wall.
You can get a hold of one of these two.
On Twitter at justahorrorpod.
And Instagram, justahorrorpod.
We're going to go one by one. You have no history with this, Em, right?
Correct. I've never seen Friday the 13th before.
Any of them.
None of them.
Is there a reason, or?
Because I don't like horror movies.
That's perfect. All right.
It's one of those iconic movies, the same way like Halloween was, or, that Nightmare on Elm Street, those ones that when I was little, I saw Nightmare on Elm Street and it scared the shit out of me and I never wanted to watch a horror movie ever again.
Perfect.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Lindsay?
I grew up watching the Friday the 13th movies. I haven't watched any of them since I was quite a bit younger. It's been a long time. So I always, my biggest memory of them was when they'd have those Friday the 13th marathons on every Friday the 13th.
Hell
and I'd
yeah.
always, watch all of them till I went to bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to watch them on, I think it was TNN or something.
Yeah.
And then it became Spike TV.
Right. Of course, they cut out a lot in those because
yeah,
it was on TV, but...
This is weak. Why am I afraid of this?
But
Matt,
they were still entertaining.
You love this, right? You love everything Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So if I was attached to any of the already mentioned horror franchises that are in the zeitgeist of our culture, Friday the 13th is my go-to. I'm a big Friday the 13th fan. I love the movies. I really, 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 I'm a fan of the Nintendo NES Friday the 13th game. I'm a big collector of all things 8-bit Jason. I did that whole Camp Crystal Lake tour in New Jersey. So I'm quite the, all right, I don't want to put it out there that I'm some sort of, I don't know, expert or whiz kid. I can't recite the movie front to back. I'm just a big fan. I'm probably 2 steps above casual is the way I would put it. But I'm not if anyone's out there and they're like, oh, this guy got the character name wrong. Yeah, that's definitely true. Or what have you. But I like it very much, and I have a whole collection of stuff. So that's kind of where I fall into this whole Friday the 13th fandom.
I bet that tour was really cool in New Jersey. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, the tour was fun. It was interesting because they announced it, right? So it's at this functioning camp, New Jersey, and I remember where they announced it online, and it was so popular you had to win a lottery for the opportunity to buy tickets to go. So that's how big of a demand it was initially. And now they still do it from time to time, but the novelty has worn off. So now you can just straight up buy tickets for whenever they have it scheduled. If you have the opportunity to go and you're a fan of the movies, it's cool. Would I do it again? I would do it again if I was going with the people who hadn't done it yet, but I wouldn't probably do it on my own again.
What do you like about Friday the 13th above the other series that we've mentioned?
So if I had to compare them to the other franchises like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm a big fan. I'm a big comic book nerd. I'm a wrestling nerd. I'm very much drawn to powerhouse characters. I'm very much into, one like big brutes, right? So I feel like Jason fits the mold for, out of all of them, he's the powerhouse. He's the brute. He's the one who's sheer physical, mutilation and just aggression. And I'm very much a fan of that. My favorite Marvel character is the Hulk. Same thing. The big, wrestlers. I'm always, the biggest one. I'm like, yeah, that's him. That's the guy I want to win. But so for that, it's kind of been, that's what's always drawn me to Jason. And plus, like I said, that I played that video game when I was a kid, and I was terrified of the game. So I don't know. It's just like it's super nostalgic for me as far as the character in the franchise. I'm also a big fan of like Tim Curry's Pennywise. I have like a tattoo of him on my leg. I don't have any Jason stuff yet because I haven't settled on like a design. It's one of those things where whenever I get it, I need it to be exactly what I want. But I like so much from the franchise, I can't put it all in there. So it's stunted me in getting the tattoo entirely.
I know, man. I waffle between like, do I get Roy's thing from 5? Do I get the mask from 4? Do I like Uber Jason? Which and it just never happens. So
yeah, there's too much. There's too much cool shit.
There is. There's no Jason in this movie, though, right, Lindsay?
Barely.
All right. How about a plot synopsis?
Camp Crystal Lake has been shuttered for over 20 years due to several vicious and unsolved murders. The camp's new owner and 7 young counselors are readying the property for reopening, despite warnings of a death curse by local residents.
So, when I saw this one when I was a kid, I saw 4 first. So I had this idea in my head of what a Friday the 13th was. And I remember watching this, after that and being utterly confused. Just completely confused.
Yeah, I did not watch these movies in order when I was younger, so I definitely knew Jason before I knew about the first one and what it was like. So it would have been a total different experience watching it if you were around in 1980 to watch it for the first time and not know all about Jason yet.
Right. And I tried to look at it in that way when I watched it this time. All right, let's just pretend that there is no Jason. It's hard to do. With that in the back of your mind. But Em, were you wondering where Jason was the whole time?
No. I mean, so I remember there was something about Jason's mom, and I kind of forgot that Jason was even a thing. I was really just kind of following the stories of the characters, kind of, following the line of the story. I wasn't really like, where's Jason?
I felt like these characters were fleshed out, too. Not great, but not as terrible as they can be. They're not bad. I wasn't the only guy I didn't like was Ned.
Yeah, he was silly.
Yeah, you like the goofballs usually. He was
a little extreme.
Yeah, desperate.
He was
goofy.
creepy goofy.
Yeah, creepy goofy would be another word for him.
Steve was a little bit too, but everybody else, they were basically good people. They were just teenagers.
Normal teenagers.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Ned was cool. Ned was cool in my book.
Well,
I mean, he added a little comedy to it.
Yeah, at the beginning, he was you were with him, and he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where Brenda was get away from me, and everybody else is oh God, Ned, calm down.
Right.
And then
I enjoyed his jersey diaper with the dancing when the cop got
that
there.
was funny.
That was great.
And then when the cop showed up right after, when he's in the middle of that.
So this thing starts, what year is it? 1958? 59?
57.
57.
Is when
Yes.
he
drowned.
And
then 58 murders
where,
happened, a couple.
That's where we start.
Okay. So this reminds me, and I think that Sean Cunningham did this on purpose. This is very Giallo. Very, and it's, in my opinion, it's one of the better Giallos. If you count it as a Giallo.
Yeah, I mean, I think the effects were really good. The gore is
Tom Savini,
fantastic.
Woo.
What's giallo?
Like Italian horror.
Oh, okay.
I love throwing words out and just seeing the blank look.
Well, like I was like 10 seconds in, and the what's do you have your noise there, Matt?
So the noise freaked you out? Is that what happened, or?
Well, I mean, it comes on like it's almost first thing, and I was like, and it took me right back to like kids on the playground making that noise at you when they were trying to scare you, or like I had a friend in the neighborhood and her brothers.
There it was.
Yeah, that's shit.
I like it.
Guys, that's not me.
I was like, oh, now I remember that, like, her brothers used to, when they were, like, hide and seek, they would start to make that noise, and it would freak me the fuck out. I was, like, 6, I was little, but now it sounds like a Lamaze class.
That's funny. I don't know if it's, like, a definite thing that it's supposed to be key, ma, that's supposed to be, like, killer mama,
yeah.
or killer mommy, you
That's
know?
what, oh my goodness, I should know this. The guy who made the score, can't remember, Harry Manfredini.
I like the score.
He said that he just put through Kill 'Em All on a soundboard and just ran it on loop.
Okay, yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it.
No, it really doesn't. It sounds like it was based on that line, but it sounds redone to me. It doesn't sound like it's her saying it or anything.
No.
What is it supposed to say?
Kill
Well,
Ma.
I think it's supposed to come from killer mommy,
Yeah.
like it's in there, but it's like key, ma. It's just like a shortened version of that. But then some people think that that's not
What
really
a terrible. Oh, that if that was a. I imagine you're producing that, right? Like, I wanted to say like "Killer Mommy" over and over again. You tell somebody that, and then you play what actually was the end version of it. There's no way the other person in the room goes,
That's it.
"What you just said is not what is that sound."
Right.
They were like, "Yeah, but it's cool. Just do it anyway." And they're like, fine."
I mean, it is perfect for a horror movie.
Yeah,
so.
I like the result of it.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know. I always heard, like schoolyard rumors of what it's supposed to be. And that was, I never put any like real stock that there was an actual plan for it other than just, it's just creepy noise that someone on set was doing. And it was like, hey, you're creepy. Do that in the microphone. And it was like, sure. And here's $5. He was like, great, nothing will ever happen in this movie anyway, and I'll take my $5 and leave. And that was like the whole thing. But I guess...
Was somebody actually making that noise, or did they do it with like a keyboard or something?
It's Manfredini. He took it and ran it through a synth. Put it up to a microphone and ran it through a synth.
Oh, okay.
Just looped it.
He ruined it. He ruined the English language.
He did. And he's all proud of himself for it. All the people that made this movie are up their own asses so far. I'm glad they made it.
Me too.
But Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller have been fighting over who really did what for like, what is it now, 40 years? And now we're getting some Hulu prequel because of it.
Right.
Because technically you can't use Friday the 13th and Jason in the same movie, but you can use them both in anything else.
Oh, haven't like other people learned not to leave money on the table, especially like as a shining example of Sony and Disney with Spider-Man. I was like, hey, listen, we can all make money here. Let's all be cool, baby, and just fucking make like something new or something good. But instead, there's all these like trademark wars and all these, I own this and you can't do this, and like all this legality. And the only people that's actually, there's two people that suffer. Yeah, the fans who want more content, they suffer. And then these people who I'm sure aren't living in $1 million mansions, who could probably use some money if they're just riding on the coattails of what they did in, the original Friday the 13th. I'm sure it makes money. I'm sure they're doing okay. But, I mean, who doesn't love more money, right? As Mr. Burns says, I would give it all up for a little more. Yes, you're like leaving money on the table, and it's the most idiotic thing ever. And I just want something new. All these remakes and all these things are getting done, as long as they don't do what they did with the fucking last Halloween movie. But if someone can take it, who has like a true fan and wants to do something good with it, like I as a fan would like to see that. But like you're saying, we're going to get what, some Hulu original now? I don't know.
Even a remake would be fine. Like anything right now would be like, they're only making this Hulu series so that they can keep the rights and not, that whole thing where they need to make something every few years or whatever to keep the rights.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it's a Fantastic Four with Spock all over again.
Yep. Oh yeah, man, they ruined that shit. That's one of the only comic book things I know about.
Yeah, but they right.
They had to get it.
But
out.
it's the same thing. Fox owned the Fantastic Four, and in order to keep it, they had to make something within a certain amount of time. So that's why you got all those shit movies.
Oh, that's why.
Nice, real nice.
I don't do superheroes.
I've never been more offended in my life.
Yes. How many minutes in are we?
I'm sure there'll be more.
Sorry.
I know this movie was like independently produced, and it really did make a ton of money because it had been like a $550,000 budget, and then it made almost $60 million.
Yeah,
so
that's it. Then you just go, here, you guys do what you want. I'll sit back on my money pile. Thank you. So he came back to make Goes to Hell also. I'm not sure why he felt the need, but he did. This movie has no worm Jasons. This just has an old woman murdering people, and that's how it starts off. I'm trying to keep this thing on the rails.
But you're a super fan too, so you want to talk about all the other stuff. It's okay.
I'm the guy that he's talking about. That's like, that character name is not correct. Jack didn't get killed. It was Bill. No. So it starts off with some teenagers sitting around singing a song.
In 1958.
Yeah, we get a creepy POV of kids.
I watched it today, and I wrote down a bunch of notes as I was watching it. In the opening scene, whoever's playing the guitar at one point stops playing the guitar, but the guitar keeps playing.
Yeah.
She just outright, they do like a close-up on her playing guitar, and she just stops, and the guitar just keeps on strumming.
I noticed a few sound issues. I actually watched it today too at 10:30 on a Sunday morning, like God intended.
That is where he'd rather you be.
That's right.
So there's so many bloopers in this. Like Alice sets the bucket down like 3 times at one point. She sits it down, cuts away, sets it down again. There's a lot. They go off to bang, but they don't get a chance because someone's watching them. And they don't seem too freaked out by it. They're just like, oh, hey, nothing's happening here. And then the cool thing about this opening scene is that these 2 people die, and I would imagine audiences were like, this isn't going to be that bad. Like, the boy dies by getting stabbed in the stomach. The girl dies off screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like really...
Yeah, it's like starting off slow with the
it's not really
goriness.
preparing the audiences for what it was in for. Title credits or credits come through the glass, which I think is hilarious because people are watching this in a theater.
Right.
So what is it breaking? But they just keep with it. It either explodes or breaks glass every single time it comes out for the rest of the series.
Oh,
just
that's good.
Weird. Weird choice.
They kept it consistent.
It reminds me of like a high school student who's like making a video project and learned all the little effects they could use, so they just put them in for no reason. So the beginning of this, after the 1950s murders, we go to the present, which is June 1980, and we meet Annie, who they play a psycho trick on us, which is we're introduced to a character we think is going to be the main character.
Right.
And she's heading to Camp Crystal Lake, and the locals don't like that. Now, I know this is early in the slasher boom, right? But if you are like walking around and everybody in the town is telling you like, don't go there, don't go there, like, shouldn't you not maybe go there?
You would think. And it's weird to me that like that crazy Ralph, he was telling her not to go, and then the guy that gives her a ride, he's like, oh, that Ralph, he's just a prophet of doom. And he's like complaining about how he's like ruining this camp for the new owner and everything. But then he starts doing the same thing and he warns her about it and he tells her she should quit. And like, why did he change his tune there?
He probably felt bad for her. Like, he is sending her off to
He
her
didn't
death.
originally, but then suddenly he changed his mind.
Maybe he thought that she'd be more likely to...
Yeah, I wrote some...
Oh, God. Must be a delay.
No, I was going to say, So I wrote, like I said, I was taking down notes today. So my notes for the opening intro scene for the Annie intro is the store clerk lady has no neck. Ralph probably would have been right about COVID, and the truck driver got a double-handed ass grab helping her into the truck.
Oh,
yeah.
So those were my three major takeaways.
Enos, one of the first things he said to her is, "Oh,
That's how you get in the truck, ma'am."
And then pushes her up in the truck by her butt.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Enos, ew.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what your experience is of getting into a truck like that, but every time I get in, someone double hands my ass right in.
That's how you're supposed to do
And are
it.
you like, thank
They
you?
teach you that in trucker school.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
She doesn't seem to notice or be bothered by it though.
Yeah, it was the 80s. Everybody's butt was getting grabbed all
Right.
the fucking time.
Mm.
So he drops her off at some cemetery.
Yeah, I wondered why he didn't take her the whole way. It didn't seem like it was that much farther.
There's a lot of that in this movie. Like people just dropping them off almost there.
Yeah.
Just take them there. Just
Right.
finish taking them there.
It's the Eagles. It's the Eagles of Mordor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing that happened in Lord of the Rings, where they fly the eagles to the mountain and then it just drops them off. They could have just flew them right to the fucking top of the mountain.
Yeah, but there's no journey in this movie. There's no journey. It's not about the journey.
Right.
Just get them to the goddamn place.
I totally agree with you. Actually, that's not true, right? So I guess like the reason for the drop off is she needs to get into
Another car.
the Jeep with
Mhm.
so and so, which I'm sure you're going to touch upon right now.
Yeah, Pamela picks her up and doesn't say a word to her at all. Just keeps
Yeah.
accelerating and accelerating.
And I mean, I love how she's just so excited and happy to get into this vehicle with this stranger that she didn't even look at first. Like, she doesn't think anything like, it might be a little bit dangerous. You never know who you're getting into a car with when you're hitchhiking, but she's just all excited.
And she's just on and on and on too. Like, I hate how they call them little children. It's like they're calling them goats. Ugh.
But think about, she got into the car with a middle-aged woman, so she was immediately felt safe.
Right, but she didn't know
Probably.
that at first, I don't think, because she put her stuff into the trunk first, and then she got it there. I don't think she'd even seen her yet.
Okay. But I could see how, like, just seeing this older woman, like, you're immediately at ease, right?
Right.
You're supposed to be at the end of the movie too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on that because I was not ever at any point. So they pass Camp Crystal Lake and she's like, hey, can you turn the car around? And she doesn't, so she jumps out the side.
Yeah, I mean, she's
was-
driving really fast, which is like these reoccurring nightmares that I have. That's like a nightmare of mine, being like in a car with somebody that's going so fast.
That was an amazing dive she did out the door.
Oh, yeah.
I've done that in my nightmares.
Oh, man.
Not landing on a rock. Good job, man.
You probably don't want to ride with John too often then.
Oh, my God. Trying to get here, I was dodging the Amish.
Yes,
It was
there were
tough.
so many Amish.
They were
everywhere. In buggies, on bicycles.
What different worlds we live in.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, you don't have any Amish where you live?
No, not even remotely close. I wish we did.
They're crazy interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Pamela chases her down and slits her throat, which I thought was a really cool effect.
It was, yeah.
So, and now I think the audience is like, oh, we might be in for something here.
Right.
So at the same time that the,
Yeah, I wrote that there's no way that neck slash would have killed her. That one in particular. That was like a survivable neck slash.
yeah, I think a lot of the murders in Friday the 13th movies are like
Unrealistic.
Yeah, a lot more happened here, I think.
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy in one of them that just gets stabbed in the stomach and just drops over dead. Just right on his face.
Yeah, that's
So
not...
This is what I was telling you about, Em.
What?
How
But-
Friday the 13th are kind of like boom, 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 boom with their deaths.
Yeah, they're quick.
Yeah, they're not
Right.
they're not Terrifier 2 where you're chopping up somebody and dumping salt and bleach in them.
Yeah, so somebody that can't handle a lot of gore, even though there is gore, it's fast and it's over with.
This is
Yeah,
like
it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to be.
See, I thought it'd be okay.
I didn't. I mean, there was no torture, so
Yeah.
I think I'm okay as long as there's not torture.
So at the same time that this is happening, Kevin Bacon, Jack, right?
Mhm.
Kevin Bacon is Jack, then Marcy and Ned are arriving. As soon as they pull in, Steve Christie's like, get to work. just immediately. So, yeah, let me see if I can remember all the names. Here we go. So there is Alice and Bill. Bill is a big, tough dude, kills a snake. Ned, the goofball. Kevin Bacon is Jack. His girlfriend is Marcy. Brenda is like another woman that's there. Annie's the one that just died. She's supposed to be the cook. The cook is always the first one to die in these movies. They never make it.
Yeah.
And then
Alice.
we said Alice, I think.
Oh, sorry.
And Steve is the guy who runs the place.
Yeah.
Did we miss anybody?
Not that I can think
I
of.
think that's it.
Dorf is the cop.
Dwarf, you got his name?
Yeah.
And
course it
Alice
was
is already
Dorf.
ready to quit. Like, she doesn't want to be there, really, but she's an artist.
Well, Steve Christie's crawling all over her.
Right, yeah.
So,
Too strong, Steve. Too strong.
yeah.
She doesn't really seem totally disinterested, though. I don't know.
I didn't know how to read that at all. I was like, does she like him? She looks uncomfortable.
I think she was not interested in all and was just kind of being nice enough to not completely offend him.
Or get fired.
Could be,
Or get
yeah.
fired, right?
Yeah.
That was my take on it, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I wrote down Steve. What did I write down about Steve? I wrote Steve hitting on that camp counselor, wishes she was Freddie Mercury with the way he was dressed. So I think there's some underlying undertones with Mr. Steve Christie.
I mean, Alice has sort of a boyish haircut.
I really didn't like
boyish
her
look.
haircut, but that was
Yeah.
1980.
Yeah.
Oh, I also commented. I said she has a haircut like Zach Taylor from The Home Improvement.
Oh, yes. That's accurate.
Those bobs were all the rage, though. When was Mary Lou Retton? That was until the later 80s, right? 84, I think. She had like the bob
The Wheaties
haircut.
lady?
Yeah, the gymnast. That haircut was huge back then because it was the 80s.
Oh, man.
Yeah, 80s hair, not the
Bill,
best.
Bill, when he was painting, had on jeans and
Overalls.
suspenders.
Suspenders, yeah.
I'm sure they were rubbing on his nipples real good.
So funny. So I was writing the notes in order as like watching the movie. So then, so once that other guy showed up, like you're saying with the suspenders on there, I go, what did I write? Where is it? I wrote something that. Oh, I said, holy shit! The other guy painting is dressed like Freddie Mercury with those white pants and the suspenders.
Uh-huh.
Looks like he's freaking Freddie Mercury from Live Aid.
Well, there you go, Steve.
Yeah.
Bill's right there. You don't need Alice.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. That's
It's a match.
That's the real undertone to the movie that we're all overlooking here is the romance between Bill and Steve that no one even paid attention to because we're all
It's like a love
so
triangle.
trained to not even see that type of thing.
Yeah.
No, I wish Steve would have stuck around a little longer so we could have seen it develop, but he's off already.
Yeah.
As soon as all the counselors get there, he's like, all right, bye. Just leaves him there
Oh yeah. So
at the death camp.
the whole movie is going on. Does Steve spend the entire day at the diner?
I think so.
I was like, I
Seems
forgot
like
he
it,
even
yeah.
existed.
What did
He's
he
sitting-
go do? He
was
didn't do
having
anything.
some pie and coffee all day.
Yeah. Well, maybe he did something else first, and then he went there, and it just didn't show
Well,
us.
he went and told Pamela, all right, they're all there. Go do your shit. We'll be back later. Or he told Ralph to make his way up there because he's coming soon. So
Yeah. And then the snake thing, like, I'm like, why did they really have to? Because they really killed this snake in real life.
they
did
did.
they have to do that? Like, that was unnecessary.
if it added something, I'm still gonna say no, but I mean, if it added something, at least there'd be some sort of reason for it. Like Bill just, it establishes there is a machete at the camp.
Yeah.
You could have cut down bushes.
Oh right, I was wondering where the machete came from at the end. Like it
Yeah.
was just laying on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it also, I think the movie is trying to trick the audience by
Yeah.
pointing out potential killers.
Right.
But the reason it doesn't work is because they never have the actual killer anywhere in the movie until she shows up at the end.
Right. I mean, we know that the killer's there. We just can't see them. And I kind of like, it looks like we're seeing it from their perspective a little bit, and that's kind of cool.
At times, there are times, I want to be clear, I don't want to trash this movie. Not at all. So when I say negative things, they're not me trashing it. But she's right there. If it is from her perspective, Alice like walks right up to her face, looks at her, and then continues on her way. So Alice is just like blind, or maybe is just like, oh, there's an old lady standing there. Maybe I should just leave her alone.
Wait, which part are you talking about?
When Pamela makes her way down to watch them at the shore. Alice comes down
and
to
Alice
talk
walks
to Bill.
right past her, supposedly,
right past
on
her.
the path.
Mm-hmm. It's not like she's behind something either. She's just like standing there out in the open.
I kind of wondered about that because the camera angle did give you the idea that you were the person that was watching, and then she did walk right past.
I don't think it detracts too much because Sean Cunningham's a terrible director, so it's fine because he doesn't know anything about it. I noticed a lot of the camera angles were either from way up high, which was weird, or from like way down low, which was also weird.
Yeah.
They weren't like regular static shots or anything. I don't know if he was trying to be experimental, but
right. I mean, I didn't mind that. That kind of made it a little
didn't bother
different.
me. I just thought it was, why is he making these decisions? And I think the reason is he later talked about not putting a killer in the movie, and his attitude was, fuck it, let him guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my guess is how he was doing a lot of this. He's like, who gives a shit? I just want to make a little bit of money here.
Right.
So these decisions that I'm nitpicking are a waste of time. Anyway, so after Alice finds the snake in her room and Bill kills it, Ned is still goofing off. He's hitting on Brenda pretty hard. He shoots an arrow at her.
Yeah, that was
which is
really
fucked up.
Risky.
Yeah, she seems fine for some
Yeah, a
reason.
little upset with him. I would
She's
be.
like, oh, how could you? You scared me. But she's fine. And then they have to figure out how to work.
But I mean, like,
I'm sorry.
How good of a shot was that, huh? How good of a shot was that?
Yeah.
You know what?
Good thing he's a good shot.
Yeah. I like that confidence that he's like, I'm going to shoot an arrow at this person and miss them because I'm just that good. So
that's right. Little known unknown fact is later on when he portrays an Indian chief, he turns out he's part Indian. He shoots the arrow like nobody's business.
Oh, so he's not making fun of people. He is one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just demonstrating the skills of his people.
Yeah.
That must have been why Brenda was like, all right, that's cool. That's fine.
Is this when the cop comes?
This is when the cop comes.
Yeah.
It's cool. He's Native American.
So Dorf shows up, right? You got his name. His name is Dorf.
His name is Dorf.
Officer Dorf. And this actor never rode a motorcycle up until this point. And you can tell by the way he's struggling quite a bit. But you got Ned running around in his Native American suit, and you got Kevin Bacon stoned out of his mind, just wandering around playing with the radio and shit. But the cop is there to warn them that Crazy Ralph is out telling people his bullshit. And man, I really wish that this series would have explored Crazy Ralph more. But,
I liked Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, he dies in the second movie pulling the same shit. So, I there's like fan theories that he's Jason's dad, and I don't know if I go with that.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Nah.
He's married. His wife was looking for him later.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of surprised he doesn't seem like a guy that would have a wife, He just seems like the crazy town guy that's just like wandering, It's just me.
You do not seem like somebody who has ever found a significant other.
Don't you know what I mean? He just seems like the crazy town guy that
I was surprised when they said his wife was out looking for him.
I mean, that would be a perfect fit, him and Pamela. You got this crazy serial killer and the wacko guy
That's
running
true,
around on his
yeah.
bike, telling crazy stories.
warning against her.
Yeah.
I wrote down a quote from the cop, too. We ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you will. Forever and ever and ever.
What's life without weirdness, man?
I love that people, every year, there's at least 10 people dying there. Every year. And every year they have a new sheriff in town. And it's like they just go on reset every single year. It's fine with me. Keep making these movies.
Right.
Keep being stupid. Keep going to the woods. It's fine with me. All right, so Ned is spying on...
So when I was on the when I went on that tour, they had a bunch of the actors like there, like kind of hanging out in their scenes, and they didn't really like advertise that. So it was like kind of like a really cool surprise. But the first actor to show up was when they had everyone sitting in like the assembly hall and like kind of explaining how the tour was going to work. And then they had the actor who played the cop come out in his like cop outfit He's so old at this point. And I was sitting like right there, and he came up to me and he started just like giving me the lines from the movie. He was like, "What have you been smoking?" And I was like, "Nothing." I didn't even like realize what was happening or who this person was like initially, because he literally came out of nowhere and everyone turned around, and I was like sitting pretty close to where he came in, so everyone just like turned and looked at me the way that's how I felt about the whole thing, and I was like, all right. So I turned around and I was just so unprepared. So in like a room full of fanatic super fans, the cop gave me the line and I did totally botched the dialogue. I was like, I don't smoke, and like that was like I just fucking like took the wind out of everyone's sails immediately.
Oh. They were all so disappointed.
Wait, come back! Let me do it again.
They were like,
But I know the line.
I know. So if anyone's planning on going down there, make sure you're, trained. You got the script memorized front to back in case some actor pulls a fast one on you.
That's great.
All right, so after the cop leaves and they turn on the emergency generator, we find out that Bill knows how to turn it on, or Jack knows how to turn it on. I think they both do. Jack and Marcy go off to have sex after Marcy tells this completely crazy story about like a dream she had.
A dream she's had since she was little.
Yeah.
So is she predicting her own death there?
I think that's what that's supposed
Right,
to be.
yeah.
Okay.
Out in the rain and
I like
yeah.
that. It's cool writing that the rest of this series honestly doesn't have. So Ned's watching them creepily and sees somebody go into a cabin and goes up into the cabin for who knows what reason. Like
he's actually just being a nice guy. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
can I help you? Like,
don't be nice. Never be nice. The lesson you need to get from these is don't ever be nice to anybody.
I mean, they're all just pretty nice people for the most part.
It was really cool too watching this because I play the video game a lot, and the different camps. Like I always wondered like how they set them up in the game, but now that I'm watching the movie again, man, they nailed it. Everything is exactly like he's down at the little place where they launch the boats, and he looks up and there's like a little one-room cabin up there. And if you play the game, if you stand down there, you can look up and see the one-room cabin. It's so cool how well they did on that.
What were you gonna say?
When Ned, the part where Ned was acting like he was drowning, like
we skipped over that. Yeah,
they're all competent.
Yeah.
Like counselors, like they know first aid, they know how to
It's
they know their.
something I've never understood about Pamela taking revenge on this particular group. Like, I know it's a slasher and you have to have a crazy person doing crazy shit. It's just that these particular group of kids seem like the kind of kids that if there was a kid drowning, they would be right there.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think she cares about that anymore.
But this is the first group of kids
that
since
have been there.
1958.
Right.
So she's just like, she doesn't care.
Yeah, and she doesn't want the
Who
camp
it
to be reopened.
So this is more of like a message to everybody else. Like, look at how many dead kids there are now. You're going to try and open it again?
Yeah.
Yes!
Yes, we are.
Over and over.
It only costs $25,000 to open it. No, that's what the truck driver says to Annie. He's like, it's $25,000 to open it back up.
How much is he?
I was like, oh damn, $25,000.
How much is he planning on making at a summer camp?
Well, I mean, maybe he's thinking like, to stay open for years, he'll end up making that money back.
I don't know. I agree with it. What's his name?
They said there's going to be 50 kids if each kid's parents pay a couple $100 for a week.
Yeah.
I guess he doubled. Yeah, but then he's got to... man, I'm glad I don't own any businesses.
Yeah.
I just started doing math in my head and it hurt and I quit.
I relate.
Oof. Well, it seems
Let me
like
get my calculator out.
Yeah, there you go. So Ned is now gone, and Marcy and Jack have some sex. Underneath, Ned's dead body. Sexy. And while that's going on, there's a storm, like a big storm. So Brenda, Alice, and Bill are going to play Strip Monopoly.
I love how you said that like that's normal.
Well,
that's a quote I wrote down too. We're going to play Strip Monopoly. I'll be the shoe. That's her quote.
I really have. I've often wondered about the logistics of this. Like, is each piece of clothing worth a designated amount of money?
Instead of paying rent, you take off a piece of clothing.
Yeah.
So it's all the same. Like, all of it equals the same.
Sure. It seems like it would be a really short game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's good then, right? Fuck Monopoly.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I would just imagine it that you play as realistic as possible, and eventually when you start to lose and you can't afford to pay the rent, then you have to go to a pawn shop and sell your clothes, and thus removing the clothes to sell them for money to pay your rent. So it's the most realistic form of strip anything I've ever heard of.
Well, you really put a lot of thought into that.
You need another person who runs the Monopoly pawn shop at the table.
Right.
Who has to like exchange for the cash.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be a player, you can be a banker, or you could run the pawn shop.
Fuck, I'm running the pawn shop.
How did the game end?
It didn't end because the which girl realized that she left her
Brenda.
window open so she decided to leave and go close her window.
Right. I kind of got the idea that Brenda was trying to set up Alice and Bill. That's what I was.
For what?
To
get together.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I mean, I kind of thought Alice and Bill were maybe going to get together anyway.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I thought that was like a way to kind of speed it up a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I'm thinking too much about it. There's no real reason. It was just like let's get some nudity in this movie, and then
right.
That was pretty much it. So after they're done having sex, Jack and Marcy goes to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Jack has some blood on him
That dripped down, yeah.
And then he gets stabbed through the throat with an arrow
from the bottom.
From the bottom. That's wild.
I think that's really cool. I think that's one of the coolest
kills. That actually happened. Like, wouldn't you feel something at the back of your neck and be like, "Hey, what is that?" And like sit up real quick.
The logistics don't make a lot. Like trying to get an arrow under the bed and then
really
pushing like. But I don't give a shit.
No,
I
as
don't
we
care.
said, these kills don't have to be realistic. They're just cool to watch.
Okie dokie.
And there's the famous thing too that they had to constantly use Tom Savini's assistant Tasso to do a lot of the effects, and so anytime that there's hands, you see hairy knuckles.
Yeah,
because it's always Tasso's hands. So it was him that reached up and grabbed Kevin Bacon's head.
Oh, somebody was holding his head?
Yeah.
The body was. Do you know how the effect was done?
No.
It's just a cast of a body
with
with a prosthetic neck. They run a pipe up, or a pump up so they can pump the blood through, but it got jammed. So I don't remember if he blew on it. I think he blew on it, and that's what caused the blood to go like everywhere.
But it was a good mistake.
It worked, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So no more Kevin Bacon. He didn't have a lot to do in this movie.
I still miss him.
Yeah, I know. And now Marcy's in the bathroom by herself. And who is she?
Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, Katharine Hepburn. Okay.
Mm-hmm. She's quoting Katharine Hepburn from The Rainmaker.
Okay, that was just really weird.
That was weird. I wonder if she wants to be an actress or she just really likes that movie. I don't know.
I kind of liked it.
I think that was like her telling other directors, I can't act. Watch
I know.
this.
Maybe, that mirror seems to inspire everyone to hum, too.
So,
not just her, but the next girl that's there.
So she was another one of the actors that was at the tour, and she was in the cabin that she got killed in. So because like on the tour you go through like all the cabins and they like have pictures of the scene from the movie that are in the cabin that you are currently in, and she like came out of nowhere, and it was like this is just how my awful mind works. It was like she came out of nowhere and everyone was like, oh yay, and she's just like this late beyond middle-aged woman at this point. And she like pops out, and I was like, I've seen this old woman's ass, and like that's all I could think about the entire time. She was such a nice person, but like I couldn't shake the fact that I've seen younger used tits, and it's like I don't know how I feel about that because it's like you're so nice, I can't separate it. And I just like we left the cabin. I was just like I told my friend I was with, I was like, hey, the entire time you were in there, were you just thinking about like her ass from the scene she's in? And he was like, I am now. I was like, yeah, I have a problem that I think I need to deal with.
I wonder how many people actually walk up to her and they're like, I've seen you naked.
She probably gets it a lot.
Right.
Has to. Absolutely has to. I think she might have touched on it because she was talking, because she has kids of her own. And I think she might have like touched on it, like, being weird that she's in this like straight up like Americana cult, touchstone movie. And she's naked in it, and like all her kids' friends will see, those scenes. Absolutely, that's definitely like I don't know. It's one of those things that you never really think about watching it. You never really think about when you're younger. But I mean, I'm 38, and I can imagine if I was like naked in something like 20 years ago, and now my kids go to school. I'm like, listen, guys, at some point in your life, someone's going to mention to you that they saw me naked, and you're just going to have to deal with that.
Just be like, listen, kids, don't ever Google me.
Well, then they're immediately
I know,
going
that's,
to
Yeah.
that's the first thing they'll do.
I think if you just tell them I'm nude in this movie, they'll avoid that movie. It's pretty simple.
Oh, yeah, you would think so. I mean, who wants to see their parents naked?
Yeah, I think most actors say that their kids really don't watch their movies for the most part.
That's probably for the best.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Didn't you say that like every single person that you ever see, you think about them having sex?
Pretty much.
Yep.
I mean, not like every single person I see, but like if my mind has a few minutes to wander, then I start to like, God, they have sex with somebody and somebody has sex with them, and I wonder how that goes.
You know, I've thought of that stuff too.
Oh, good. I'm not the only
You're
A
one.
lot of times
not
it's a mystery, right?
Yeah,
you
you
feel
have
like
no
you
idea.
need to solve it.
Like think about the one, the one old janitor guy at work, like the really old one, like hunched over and everything.
That
like,
dude has had sex.
he's had sex. Somebody's had sex with him.
Wild.
Right.
That
I
is
mean, I don't know
wild.
how long ago. I don't even know. He probably has kids. I don't know.
Good. You know what? Good for him. Way to go. All right. Let's see. Brenda's windows are open, so she's gonna go close her cabin windows, and then she starts hearing a weird voice outside.
Yeah, child's voice, it sounds like.
This is psychotic stuff from Pamela.
Oh wait, first
Like-
Marcy got a hatchet to the head. Did we already say
Oh
that?
no, Marcy's
Oh,
still alive
right.
right now. Okay, we gotta kill her.
Marcy went to the bathroom and got a hatchet to the head.
Mhm. Now I like how the axe hits the light. I know they talked about this. The axe hits the light so that it can show that the axe had force behind it.
Uh-huh.
So they don't actually have to show the axe going into the face. Although they show the after effect, which
Mm.
I think is probably easier to do than having
Right.
the axe actually go in.
Yeah.
So a lot of these decisions are really, really good. Like they want to
Definitely.
show, and that's why Tom Savini is so good at this stuff. Like he's good at showing like the visceral, real stuff because I guess he was a photographer in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
So he wants the dead bodies to look not like
Realistic?
at peace. Like if you get hit in the face with an axe, you're not going to be like, yeah. Like you're going to look fucked up. So she's dead. And now Brenda goes in there
Mhm.
before she goes and hears the voices
Mhm.
and sees and hears weird shit, but can't really figure it out. She gets lucky because there is somebody in there. I think Pamela's in there. So then she goes back to her cabin, hears the weird voices, and that is scary as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Some old woman's out there just pretending to be a little kid, screaming and shit.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh.
I was upset that Brenda didn't get to have sex like all the other ones.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Before I get to have
Before
fun
she got
before she
killed.
died.
The other ones are like, "Oh, I'm good now," and then they get killed, and she's just like terrified the whole time.
Yeah.
What's the saying? No, there is no saying. Never mind. I was going to say, before you go out and check for sounds or weird, flick the bean, get it done, then go.
Jonathan.
You got to get that out. You got to get the tension out. Then you feel more relaxed, too, when you're out there looking for this
Then
kid.
you can run out in the rain in your nightgown.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you'd think this lady would feel a little bit bad because clearly this is a nice, caring person that's going to go check on this
That's what I
child.
thought.
Exactly. They're all basically
So
nice
she would have
people.
definitely helped a child that was drowning.
And she also could just go in the cabin and kill Brenda. She doesn't have to do this elaborate shit, but I
No,
think
it
she's
must be
having
fun
fun,
for her,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having fun now.
Because we don't even see what happens to Brenda. We just see the aftermath of
Right.
it, and it looked bad. So
Yeah.
now it's just the two. Bill and Alice are the only ones left. So I think, does the power go out? Or do they go looking for people?
Okay, what happened?
Oh, Alice is like, we got to get out of here, and she's like saying we should even like hike out.
Well, that's
Oh, right.
after everybody's dead. She thought she heard Brenda scream. Bill came back. They start looking and find the axe.
They found the bloody axe in
Yeah.
a bed.
And then they find out that the car's not working. And also, I think the phone line has been cut because Alice is like, we really need to call somebody. She's not panicking, but she's like, we better get out of here.
Right.
Steve's on the town still, right?
Yes, he is about to get back.
And that waitress is hitting on him hardcore.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
She's just being nice
she loves
to
him.
Friendly.
Oh my god.
So
Hitting on him.
there's a diner in Jason Goes to Hell, and there's a woman there who runs it. And I just, having watched this yesterday or 2 days ago, the woman here really reminds me of the same hair, same like loud voice of the woman from the diner in Part 9. And I wonder if, because Sean Cunningham did both movies, if he just wanted the same kind of people running the Crystal Lake diners.
Yeah, probably.
I thought that would be pretty cool if that was the case, like a callback or something.
Right.
That diner's been in the same family for 60 years.
Yep. People come, say hello, get murdered, they never come back. Service is great. 10 out of 10.
No bad reviews.
Nope. No time to have one. So Bill and Alice find the axe, and then the power goes out. So Bill's going to go work on the generator. Meanwhile, Steve decides he's going to drive back in the storm. His car goes off the road. And here's the thing. His Jeep looked a lot like the Jeep that picked up Annie. So again,
yeah.
I feel like they're trying to trick you. But did you even remotely fall for it? You were the only one who hadn't seen it.
I mean, not really. I'm trying to think of another movie that we watched where they, like, every scene they're trying to convince you that a different person is the killer. And I can't remember.
Happy Birthday to Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this reminded me of Happy Birthday to Me a lot.
No, it probably stole from this. That's why.
Well, just kind of like the timing of it and the kills and the, like...
There's a definite, like, certain...
The twist at the end.
There's a beat to slashers.
Right.
Like, they're very, like, have a couple of minutes of nonsense that means nothing, and then a murder, and then more nonsense that means nothing, so...
But I feel like Happy Birthday to Me did a better job of being like, oh my god, I think, is it them? Oh no, maybe it's them.
They were trying to.
Yeah, it wasn't so pushed.
Right.
There was maybe a little bit. Like,
I wondered if it was on purpose or not.
Bill had like this really angry look on his face after he killed the snake.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Noticed
like
that too,
those
yep.
kind of little things that where somebody, if this is the first time watching it and you don't know anything about a mother or a Jason or whatever.
I don't know if they were trying to make Ralph seem bad, but like the fact that Annie gets picked up in a Jeep and Ralph's driving around on a bike, that never worked. So,
Right.
And I wonder if the reason that Steve Christie's driving the same Jeep as Pamela is because it's the only Jeep they had on set, and they were just like, everybody can drive this Jeep, it doesn't matter.
Could be.
But Steve walks back to the camp because the cop drops him off and it's stopped raining and gets stabbed by unknown assailant.
Who he knows.
Who he knows.
Yeah, he recognizes this
Yeah.
person and doesn't seem scared. He's like, oh, hey, what are you doing out here?
I don't understand why he isn't a little worried. Cook from 30 years ago is hanging out by the sign in the middle of the night, but all right.
Yeah. Well, I think she lives in town. They
Just normal Cook behavior.
Yep. She's like, I heard you don't have a cook. I am a cook.
Yeah.
So Steve's dead now.
If you'd like, I could cook for you.
Oh, there you go.
I really like her sweater though.
Looks cozy.
Yeah, it's really warm.
You don't want to catch a cold when you're stabbing.
So that sweater is a big part of the Friday the 13th game on Nintendo.
It is?
Yeah, it is.
Because you have to go find the sweater and bring it to his little shrine there for his mom.
And then her floating head attacks you. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It's
Of course it does.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to play the game now more
Oh,
in
yeah.
depth because I know.
forget your normal idea of what left and right mean. Throw that out the window.
Okay,
it's
done.
all up and down over there.
Okay, so Bill's alone, which I really don't think that if you find a bloody axe, you can't find anybody, and the car's not working, that you split up ever.
No, not a good idea.
But it's a slasher movie.
Exactly.
So he is killed off screen, and Alice wakes up from like a nightmare. And I know I've complained to you a lot about the scene where she's walking around making coffee for like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
I actually
Instant coffee.
really liked it this time because
I did too.
it was her realizing she's probably all alone and she's gonna have to go out there.
She was almost like waiting to be killed or trying to decide what she was going to do next. Or...
preparing herself.
And she had to open that door that Crazy Ralph was hiding in earlier, so that was tense for her too.
Right.
This was really well done. Like, I really need to watch movies closer and pay more attention than I have.
Did you have the closed captioning on?
I did. It was wonderful.
Yeah. It makes such a difference. Because even like at the very beginning, the first couple, I would have never heard it without the closed captioning when she's like, Barry's out of bounds. I guess doing something she didn't want him to do. I love catching those lines though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now Alice has got to go find everybody. And she goes out to where the generator is, can't find anybody, and closes the door. And Bill is like posted to the door with arrows, and I don't know how she got him up there, man.
Yeah.
That is what I said. That is a strong lady, like lugging these bodies all over. She threw the one through the window.
Yeah.
She is badass.
I mean, insanity can give you some strength. Strength of a mad woman.
All that adrenaline.
Yeah.
So Alice is pretty tough too, man. Alice is a beast. So she runs inside and barricades herself in, only to take it all back down immediately because somebody pulls in a Jeep and she thinks it's Steve.
Did the body get thrown through the window yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
Brenda comes through the window. That's Tasso again.
Okay.
And when it lands, it's Brenda. But, like, I don't know what happened to her. But,
yeah, I don't know.
Man, she's in rough shape. So, that scared me the first time I watched it when I was a kid. That legit scared me.
Yeah, that's a jump. And then also, she just seems she's not thinking anything about, like, okay, who threw this person through the window? There's a body here, but how did it get thrown in there?
I'm wondering how it got thrown in there because, like, less than a minute later, Pamela's driving up from somewhere. So, did she toss it and, like, run to her Jeep, drive the Jeep back? Don't think about it. Don't think about it. So the Jeep pulls in, Alice goes out, and there's just some old woman there. And she's like, I'm Pamela Voorhees. I'm an old friend of the Christies. And I can't imagine anybody who saw this was like, oh, she's good. Like,
no, she automatically seems creepy and suspicious.
Yeah, she's like, well, everyone here is dead. Oh, that's fine. I'm not really worried. Like, what? You're not? Why are you not worried?
Why not?
I thought she seemed like a nice lady.
They got you. So she goes in and starts talking about a bunch of nonsense, like a young boy drowning, and then being like, "It was my kid, and today's his birthday. Is it really his birthday? Like,
sure, June 13th. Why wouldn't it be?
What a coincidence!
I mean, why? Well, yeah,
that's fine. I always wondered why. Like, I get that Sean Cunningham only picked Friday the 13th because it sounded cool. He put it in a magazine before he released the movie and was like, all right, let's hope this sells. Now we got to make a movie out of it.
Yeah, and they wanted to make sure that nobody else had already used Friday the 13th. They hadn't actually come up with the whole movie yet. They just had the title.
Right. So they had to jam it in there. So they do. So you better give it a point for putting the newer words Friday the 13th in the movie.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think, did they say Friday the 13th?
Yeah. Yeah.
When?
The cop is like, statistically more murders happen on Friday the 13th.
And full moons.
And full moons.
And on the radio, they said it was Black Cat Day at the beginning.
Probably
whenever
because of Friday
she's
the
coming
13th.
into town.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that before.
Me neither.
And since they didn't know if they were going to be able to use Friday the 13th or not, they came up with some other ideas, and they were going to maybe call it A Long Night at Camp Blood.
Well, I'm glad that didn't work
Right,
out.
I much prefer Friday the 13th. Good thing that worked out.
That's a Goosebumps title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have just called it Camp Blood.
I think there's been fan movies that are called that now.
Oh.
So.
Or Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Also, like, A Long Night at Camp Blood is like a pretty lengthy title. You might as well call it like One Night Where an Old Woman Kills Children a Bunch of Times.
Yeah.
And then just call it that.
Yeah, Friday the
And dies
13th.
herself,
Much
in
better ring
parentheses.
to it.
So, after she tries to stab Alice, Alice whacks her with a fire poker, knocks her down. I think
She's a tough lady.
I've wondered about this for a while, and I think that she's just tired from a long day. That's why she's able to manhandle somebody like Bill, but have a real tough time with Alice. That, and also the element of surprise,
Right.
which anytime that Jason or like Pamela runs into any kind of resistance, they have a tough time.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of times it's either they're sneaking up on him or they're just like, no, 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 no. But as soon as someone fights back, man, other than poor Julius who gets his head knocked off. Yeah, I mean, Alice is ready for this shit. Like, she's ready to defend herself. So this is a really good, like, chase scene.
It's always so frustrating in these movies, though. Like, she'll hit her one time and she doesn't
Leave her there.
And then run away.
So it happens how many times?
I was like, keep hitting her.
Yeah.
I think when she hits her with the frying pan, she probably legit thinks she's never killed anybody before.
Well, yeah,
so
right.
she sees blood coming out of her head and is like,
She must be dead.
gotta be dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of like biting and slapping and oh boy. At one point, Alice tries to get a gun but can't get it loaded, but like kicks her in the vagina, drops her right there.
During the cunt?
Yeah, it's a cunt punch. It's a cunt punch. After Alice gets into, Pamela turns the electric back on, so it's easier for her to find her, and starts channeling Jason. And there's like a really cool shot of her like eyes, and she looks crazy. Like she's just got like black eyes and like this little sparkle in them, and holy shit.
She did a good job.
She killed it for not even wanting to be there.
I know. She only did it because she wanted to buy a new car.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the one that okay, you've talked about that before.
Yeah. She came back for the sequel and just sat in a room with a black curtain and red lines, got paid again. She knows how to handle things, man.
Yeah.
She's like, you want me to read some lines and you're going to pay me? Absolutely. I don't care.
So the actress's name is Betsy Palmer, right?
Yeah.
Did they use her name in Twin Peaks? Because isn't that Laura's mom's name?
Is it?
Isn't Laura's mom's?
It's not Betsy.
I thought it was Betsy Palmer.
I don't think it's Betsy. I don't know.
Because I thought I remembered Leland calling her Bets.
She might have, but Leland was crazy.
What, you think he called her by the wrong name?
It could be.
I haven't seen it in years.
Fucking loony.
I'll have to look it up. Maybe it's not Betsy.
I can't remember what her name is.
But I wondered if it was kind of like,
it could be a nod to that.
A nod to the Friday the 13th.
Betsy Palmer was crazy famous. I don't know for what. Like, she was in a bunch of stuff where she played like a very different, like a very nice, very all-American
Yeah, I know
girl.
she was known for being more of a wholesome, nice lady.
Yeah. So I'm sure if anybody had seen Betsy Palmer before this movie, they were probably shocked by this.
Yeah.
Was she on the tour? Is he there?
I don't know. Is he there?
I'm sorry, I missed it. Someone was yelling at me.
Go ahead, ask him again.
What? Oh, was Betsy Palmer on your tour?
This is going to be one of those things that annoys everyone. How did she die?
She got her head cut off at the end.
She didn't die. She was a survivor?
Betsy Palmer.
Oh.
I'm doing it.
Then
I'm doing
no,
it.
she wasn't
I'm
there.
such an ass. I'm doing it.
She's Jason Voorhees' mom.
Yes. Betsy Palmer. No, she wasn't there. Wouldn't she be? Is she alive still?
No.
She is. She's alive. She has really embraced this because at the time she was like, I hope nobody ever sees this. And as it went on, she realized that like people really liked it.
Yeah.
So she would go to conventions and do all of the DVDs and everything. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
yeah. But she still asks people like, why do you like this?
Well, why wouldn't you?
I bet it made her happy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it had to have.
I mean, I would hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it depends because a lot of these actors were like just starting out, and the reason that they make them is because they're so cheap. And I don't think that the Actors Union is involved with a lot of the early ones. They probably are now, but back then they would like go to a place that was cheap to film it, and they would get actors that were cheap to hire that didn't require like agents or anything like that. Well, they had agents, but like not,
Right, yeah. I know, like, they had thought of some bigger people to be in this. Like, they wanted Sally Field to play Alice, I guess, but then they thought she'd be, too expensive to hire.
Right. When they would get, like, really famous ones, they would get them early before they were big.
Right.
So.
I just thought of something. So everything is about Jason, all the movies and the masks and all that stuff, but he didn't do anything
Yet.
Yeah, not yet. Like this.
Do they have little figurines of Pamela Voorhees?
They do. Yeah.
I want one of those.
Me too.
They have one with.
I have one.
Is it the one with the little boy Jason?
No, it's part of a set.
Okay.
The set is Jason, Jason's little shrine, and then his mother with a knife, and just a bunch of like weapons that he used to kill people.
I have one with her head. I don't have the rest of her though, and her grave. So
interesting.
Yeah, they're not in the package anymore though, because Garrett got it out and had a field day. So he played the game, and he actually will use the head to attack other little action figures.
Oh, that's fun.
So they're out on the beach after Alice hits Pamela in the head with a frying pan. Almost gets killed with a machete, which I noticed when Pamela swings it, she swings once and then is like, oh, like she's really wore out.
Right.
She's been
She
hit a
is
few
older
times.
and she's been
whacked around a lot.
Yeah.
She's been carrying dead bodies around all day.
It's
been a long day for her.
Yeah. So I think that she should just be like, you know what, just go tell everybody this happened. I'm just going to go home. But no, she's determined as fuck. So
Yeah.
I think it's because Jason's spirit is like, don't let her live, Mom. So she's like, fuck, all right, fine. So they're out on the beach whacking the living shit out of each other. Like, Pamela's beating Alice's head into the ground. They're biting each other and shit.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they really did throw down. Like, they were seriously beating the hell out of each other. So then Alice gets the machete because she gets the upper hand and lobs her head off. And it's glorious.
Yeah.
So I think I've discovered that if there is a scene in a movie where my reaction is, oh shit, like that, then that's pretty good. So that was my reaction on this one. And then I just started rolling laughing. I was like, she chopped her whole fucking head off.
I love the fingers too. Like,
yes, her hands are
reaching
still
for the
moving.
head. That's awesome. So then it's really funny because Alice is like trying to figure out what to do, and at one point she looks right at the camera, almost like she's asking the director, where do I go? What do I do? Gets into a boat and rows out into the middle of the lake, and some awesome synth plays. And
yeah, I love the
beautiful.
serene music, and I'm like,
yeah.
Guys, there's a head on the beach. Like, let's not forget about that. Like, she's like out there in the canoe, like, and there's a head and a dead body on the beach. Yeah. I don't think I'd be so relaxed. I think I'd still be a little freaked out.
Yeah, I think.
No, she's good. She smiles after she knocks her head off, like, yeah, I did it.
Right.
So, did this get you, the jump?
No, I remember I actually thought it was a full-grown man that jumped out of the lake. Does that happen in one of the other movies?
I don't.
Like a man comes up out of the lake? I didn't think it
I
was
don't-
him
I
as
don't
a
think-
kid.
I don't think Jason comes out like that. Maybe in 6. I don't know.
Okay. I feel like I've seen just like a snippet of
In the
something
burning,
like that.
somebody came out and.
But
oh,
I
no,
knew-
God, that was Savini too. I'm
I
getting
knew,
off track.
I knew something else was going to happen when she was in, but I just didn't know what. And then I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because he's not a kid anymore. This is 23 years later. And then she woke up. But
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but I think when they were writing it too, like they were done with it. She goes out on the boat, the cops come and it's over. And I can't remember if it was Savini or somebody else that wanted to do a Carrie ending. And they were like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, let's make it into a dream. And then when they approached Savini for part 2, they were like, he's like, what's it going to be about? And they're like, Jason. And he's like, that's not a real person. That's a dream. So even when they put him in the movie, it wasn't meant for sequels and it wasn't meant for like a real person. It was meant as a dream.
Yeah.
I think it would have been awesome if they would have had like a grown man's hand just grab onto the side of them. Kind of like a dead calm. Do you ever see that?
I've seen that, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That would have been good.
Yeah, I think I would have personally rather had it just not be a dream. Like, that could have been the last scene. Would have just been Jason attacking her, and that would have been
just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they drag her back. She ended up getting stalked real bad after this.
Yeah.
Why?
The actress did, because she just had a crazy fan. He was like writing her letters and putting them through her door, and then he
Held her at gunpoint at one point.
Yeah, and then he went to jail after that. But then she kind of she left Hollywood and
Yeah.
didn't want to be
There were actually
in the spotlight.
the few actresses in the 80s that were killed by stalking, and they had to make new laws and stuff.
They didn't take stalking seriously back then.
No, they did not.
So, all right, that's the end of this movie. So I got to go first, huh? Well, let's let Matt go first. Matt, do you want to rank this or rate this out of 10 and tell us what you think overall?
Out of 10.
Yes.
All right, out of 10. So we touched upon it earlier when we first started talking about the movie. Because I like you, John, I never really realized or really put much thought into the idea that when this movie came out, no one had seen Jason Voorhees or knew what a Jason Voorhees was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to watch this movie without the rose-colored glasses of, hey, this kicked off my favorite horror franchise, right? So with that being said, I would probably give it I'd probably give it a generous 8 out of 10. My main reason is I would say this movie does one thing well. I think the pacing of the movie is good. I don't think it really ever drags or gets kind of boring. It kind of sets up a formula or a system that you kind of catch on to pretty quick as far as the deaths and or how the movie gets portrayed. And it never really wavers, right? You have your cast of counselors and they're going to get picked off one by one. So you just wait for it to happen. And because I think when they made the movie, they're like, that's what this movie is. There's no underlying overarching thematic thing that we need to pay subtle honor to. And they were like, let's just do it. So the pacing was good. It's never really boring. It doesn't drag. I think it's the perfect amount of time. The characters are very stock 80s characters, but that's why you like them. And the kills were fun. I like the misdirection and the stuff that we were talking about earlier, or at least the attempt to, right? It's hard for us to even try to comprehend what that might have actually been like because we know everything already.
Right.
So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that it tricked probably more people, or at least made people question things a little bit more than we let on about it. But I enjoy it. I like the idea I really like the ending with the boat and everything. I thought that was cool. And yeah, I don't really have too many issues with it that aren't the obvious glaring production botches, right? None of the characters were super annoying to me. I don't know. It ticked a lot of boxes for me as far as what I would want out of a classic slasher film. So 8 out of 10. All
right. I agree with you on a lot of points. A few years ago, I would have watched this and been annoyed and with it's because I would watch it and be I'd rather be watching Jason go full out and shit like that. But watching it as not only as a slasher, but as a giallo too. And I think it stole a lot of stuff from Last House on the Left, which he also worked on. Right. A lot of the kind of comedy and the banjo music and all of that stuff. It's it's lifted straight from there. So this was entertaining as shit. I haven't watched it in years. It's been 3 or 4 years. And this time around, I really appreciated what Betsy Palmer was doing. She was really, really good at being crazy. And the characters, I actually gave a shit about them a little bit, which doesn't always happen in this series. I mean, in part 5, you got a guy who shows up on a chicken farm to clean up some shit, spies on some people, and dies immediately. And you never find out his name at all. So I like what this one did. I'm going to say it's one of my favorite in the series. It really is that good. So I'm going to give it, I'll give it an 8.5. So, all right. M.
Yeah. Just to before someone else goes, I want to just jump in real quick. Because the one thing that you got to give this movie credit for is that it was the first one. So like I mentioned, where it's this was the first one that you get the pattern or the formula for the movie. So other movies, right, when you have 10 of these movies and they all follow essentially the same formula, it's going to get bored. There's movies in this franchise that are just more boring than others, strictly because they just rely. Pretty much, it's like it was the last movie to rely on the formula without a major change, and you're like, all right, I've seen it 100 times already. So I think that gives this movie a little bit more deserving of credit than some of the other like more traditional Jason movies. But please continue.
I agree. Yeah, this didn't have a roadmap.
Right.
This was the roadmap.
Yeah.
So, all right, Em.
Okay. So this was my first time watching it. What did you say today? Because you said I was like sitting there like I was putting off watching it because I thought I was going to be afraid.
I thought they would be so happy to know someone out there was still absolutely scared by this movie and didn't want to watch it because they were scared of it.
Right.
They would be happy about that.
And what I say, they'd be happy they found the biggest pussy on the planet.
Yeah.
So now that I've watched other horror movies, so I have something to compare it to. I thought the story was good. I liked the characters. I thought it was, I mean, I know it's kind of like the first of its kind, but I have watched, I think the thing that I compare it to in my head is Happy Birthday to Me, as far as I feel like it's very similar in the timing and the kills and the ending and all that kind of stuff. But I agree with Matt. It was like the pacing was really good. There was not a lot of downtime. It was, and probably not the first time ever, but I'm starting to, in my mind, be like, "Ooh, they're gonna get killed."
You're slowly becoming a horror
Yes.
fan.
It's coming. So I would give it a 7.
Cool. All right, Lindsay.
I really liked it. I mean, it has nostalgia for me because I grew up with watching these movies, definitely. But I was thoroughly entertained throughout. No parts where I was at all bored. The kills, all very well done, I think. They did really good special effects. I really like the story of it. I like the setting of Camp Crystal Lake, definitely. And I really, really like Mrs. Voorhees as the killer a lot. And I mean, that is what really sets this apart from the rest of the movies, because Jason is not the killer in this one. And I like that. And I like that it gives some mystery, even though now, of course, we know what happens. But watching it, it's still suspenseful, even knowing what happens. So I'm going to give it an 8.
All right, cool. I want to thank Matt again for coming on, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah.
I am Jason. You see, Jason was my son.